everybody. Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast, Truth Unfiltered. We're going to be talking about Iran. So if you're watching, please comment. Let us know where you're watching from. We're going to get started here. And I'm excited for this podcast. I think some people have been, I know some people have been wanting me to speak about other things like, Minnesota and whatever, stuff like that. I just think it's more important right now to speak about the Iran thing. You'll see in a second why I'm saying it. Maybe a few minutes, more than a second. But I think that it's important. It's very important to speak on this right now. One, yes, Minnesota's right next door to us. But Minnesota, in the global scheme of things right now, when it comes to Christianity, is a small problem compared to Iran, even though I know and I believe that there is a lot of good going to come out of this Iran thing. And I'll tell you why. There's a few uncertain things I'm going to be speaking about. But I've got some good video footage that we'll be going through, and I'm going to be talking about this. A lot of people doesn't know that Iran, if you go on the media, if you type in if you type in what is the Christian population in Iran, they're going to tell you 1% to 1.5%, somewhere in there, like less than 2%, I think, is the Christian population in Iran. It is not true. It is not true by any stretch of the means. And the reason why it's not is because the regime won't let you know that it is. So it once was by far a majority, but the dates on there is something we have to look at. The dates are something that we have to take in consideration when it comes to Iran once having been a Christian, an Islamist majority country. From what I've gathered, it's no longer an Islamist majority country. Brooke, if you don't mind, again, before she plays the video, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And, just let us know where you're watching from. We appreciate it. I know they're sharing everything right now, so some people might still be hopping on. Can you guys just let me if it's been shared yet? I don't want to play the video before the majority of people's on. Okay, cool. So if you can get ready for me, the video, the one that says Patrick Bet David. So before she plays the video, he's talking about the dates. I thought it's a good idea to start with this video because it's a very, the dates, if you listen to what he's saying, just hear what he's saying. Now, number one, Patrick is Iranian. So he's kind of almost a news mongrel, very successful with business, but most of it's through media and he's got his own news thing that he does, podcast or whatever. But he is Iranian, which I think is important. He is also, I believe, Christian. So just look at what Patrick is saying in the video in terms of dates and stuff like that. It's a short video. You can play it. Thank you, Brooke.
Did you know Israel becomes a sovereign state May 14th? Did you know Israel becomes a sovereign state May 14th of 1948? And do you know what was the #2 leading majority Muslim country in the world? You know who? In 1953, called Iran, under the Shah. Look how quickly it went from Iran and Israel actually having a relationship to in 1979, Khomeini takes over. And we hear the chants we've never heard before, screaming, "Death upon America, Magbat America, Magbat Israel," and the next thing you know, Middle East is in shambles.
All right. Is that the whole video? Just replay the whole thing, because I want them to see the dates.
Did you know Israel becomes a sovereign state May 14th of 1948? And do you know what was the #2 leading majority Muslim country in the world? You know who? In 1953, called Iran, under the Shah. Look how quickly it went from Iran and Israel actually having a relationship to in 1979, Khomeini takes over. And we hear the chants we've never heard before, screaming, "Death upon America, Magbat America, Magbat Israel," and the next thing you know, Middle East is in shambles.
All right. So it's interesting what happens when Islam gets into a place. It's a very demonic thing. And I want to say this, that if the claims that I've heard, which is that Iran is fast approaching to either become or already have become majority Christian. So I know the media claims something different, Google claims something different, but every Christian you can find online that works in Iran, that does mission work in Iran, they will all tell you Iran is the fastest growing Christian country in the world. It's the fastest growing church in the world is in Iran. We'll be playing some of the Robbie Dawkins stuff in a minute, where he's talking about some of these things, which I think is important to take in consideration. It's not, like, I asked myself this question, so I just want to back up for a second and ask this question in regards to what's happening in Iran. I get the whole thing with the Sunni Muslims and the Shiite Muslims, you know, like the two different groups, two different kind of beliefs or two different systems within the Muslim religion. However, I have never heard of an Islamist resisting an Islamist regime. Like, I don't know that I've heard that before. Yeah, they fight under one another, they war under one another, they kill one another. I mean, it's a religion of death. But it kind of makes me wonder, like, why would they protest the regime if they're not, you know, if they kind of have the same religion? It doesn't make sense. Go to any other Muslim, like even in Palestine. You know, the Palestinians never stood up to Hamas. Israel did, but I mean, there might have been a few of them that complained, but it was never at this kind of scale. Hey, honey, thank you for tuning in. Hi, Jenny. Thank you for tuning in. So you've got to ask yourself, like, why is it, and you'll see in the videos, like, I mean, mass uproars of masses and masses and masses and masses of people, right? Like huge masses of people. And so I'm just asking this question. Like, why is Islam standing up in Islam like this? Or is this maybe not Islam? Is it maybe people that have reconsidered in the recent years what they actually believe. So play for me, I think it's the first video. It says Iranian protests. Play the whole video. But I think this video is circled in a lot of places. Like, ask yourself the logical question. The masses rose up in Iran. Masses. Like, I don't know that we've seen something like this in modern history. You know, like, the numbers are astounding. And I've heard some reports, how accurate it is, nobody knows, but I've heard some reports where people that used to be working for the government on the Iranian regime side have said, we can't do this anymore. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't have enough evidence for it. But the point being is that what's going on right now in Iran is the big question. What's going, because there's two interesting things I want to make note of. Do you guys recall not very long ago that Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, said, we are going to annihilate Iran. Okay? We are going to annihilate Iran. Now, it's interesting, why have they not done anything yet? So, two things. One, there's some new stuff that where, you know, it's been said, well, they confessed that they didn't have the defense necessary. Which I think is true because the U.S. kind of stepped back for a season from this whole Iran Palestine thing and like, hey, you got to fix some stuff. And so in terms of weapons and ammunition and military equipment and stuff like that, I think Israel, this is what I'm suspecting, is Israel needed some more backing before they could really do it. And because the U.S. said, hey, we're not supporting you in everything that you're doing right now, they had to back off. That could be one reason. I also think, and I also strongly suspect that Israel and the U.S. are political allies, but that doesn't necessarily mean, especially right now with the way politics are in the U.S. right now, which I find very positive, are in total agreement with Israel's moral system. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But what I want to bring to your attention is that, one, it's been on Israel's agenda to get rid of the Iranian regime who backed Hamas, who backed ISIS, and who is directly responsible for funding the attacks on Israel. Okay? So that's an agenda. The second thing is obviously the U.S. involvement. One of the things, the reason why it's difficult for anybody to tell right now what's happening is because it's almost like when Trump goes silent, you know something's going to happen. Like when he says nothing, you know something's happening. And that's exactly what's happening right now. He's like kind of neutral about this Iran thing, and I'm like, yeah, something's up. All right, so let's just go to the next video. I think it's the one that says 1.3. If you haven't played it yet, just play that one. Nope. Nope. Yep. Now I see something. I see. No, it's gone again. Yep.
یزدان شهر اصفهان 19 2404 کردنش میدون جنگ. یزدان شهر اصفهان 19 2404 کردنش میدون جنگ. تو شیکا اومدم بیشتر از همه چی. یزدان شهر اصفهان نیروهای سپاهی با نگاه ویژه
All right. Play 1.5. For those of you that are watching, I want to warn you before she plays this video. This video is very graphic. I mean very graphic. This is a public beheading. So if you've got kids watching, don't let them watch this. All right. Just pull the end screen up again. I just want to see the headline on that social media thing. Just pause it. Thank you. It says, heartbreaking images. The world must wake up and break its silence against Khamenei's crimes. The moment when when Iraqi Popular Mobilization Forces on Khamenei's orders attacked a wounded Iranian protester lying on the ground with machetes and sword and severed his head from his body. Iran Bandar Abbas. Okay. So this stuff is going on. Now the reason why when I showed this video, this has obviously been going on. So if you look at, so recently Trump sent military forces into Nigeria, and he bombed the living daylights out of ISIS, okay? And you know why he did it? Because the Muslims, or ISIS, which is Iraq has been funding ISIS, have beheaded who? Christians. Have you ever heard about Iraqis, ISIS or Muslims beheading other Muslims? You don't really see that. You don't hear about it. None of it. Point being, I want to tell you something. Iran knows its days are up for one reason. The Iranian regime knows its days are up for one reason. Iran is turning Christian. I'm telling you right now, Iran is turning Christian. And, I was thinking at one point, well, maybe a lot of these guys that says it's about to be majority Christian is thinking, well, we're probably about 30% right now. It's probably going to go to about 50+%. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be majority, as in 80% or more. And you watch. I think this is about to happen because, let me ant this in there. A few things I think is worth paying attention to. Yeah, Iran used to be, thank you, Sean. Iran used to be a Christian nation. I don't believe that the stats that Google is showing you right now has been accurate by any means. It could have been that Iran's been majority Christian, like Patrick Bet-David said in that first video, who is Iranian. But it's during a certain time period. Okay? But majority doesn't mean 99%. Majority just means 51 or above. You understand? Like, it doesn't, like, that's still majority. So, I'm telling you right now, Iran is, when this whole thing's over, it'll be a Christian nation again. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a Christian nation. Not just because of the amount of people that believe in Christianity or that are Christian or believe in Jesus Christ, but because of even politics. You'll watch and see. And I want to dare to say that I don't know what to make of it because of Israel. I don't know what to make of it because of Israel. I'm really uncertain, to be very honest, what Israel's stand is on Iran turning Christian. I'm not sure. I guess I'm going to have to wait and see. 3 things I want to make mention of. Do you remember all the universities that said all the injustice that's happening in Palestine? And everybody was rioting. All these young people in the U.S. was rioting about Palestine and how badly the Palestinians was treated by Israel. Okay? Remember that? Do you remember when all the celebrities was carrying on about how badly, Israel was treating Palestine? Never making mention that there is a self-defense factor involved there, which is Israel was bombed and masses of Israelis was captured, beheaded, killed, bombed to death, all kinds of different things. Women are raped, people, like horrible things. People were starved to death intentionally, all kinds of things by Hamas. And how that there is no other way than, am I saying that no civilians was killed when Israel went in? I'm sure civilians got killed. I'm sure of it. That's what happens in a war. But at the same token, you've got to look at Israel having to defend itself. Are you saying, well, just let Iran continue doing what it's doing, funding Hamas, and Hamas just keep bombing it? So my question is, the following. What is happening with all these people? Remember all these politicians that used to carry on about it? Do you remember some of the church people that used to carry? That's the thing that gets me riled up the most. Christians. I mean, the South African government, which I might get into this next week, how this is affecting South Africa. I'm going to tell you why Trump has been speaking out about South Africa. Most people are unaware of it. Maybe I should do something on the global thing that I don't think people get it when it comes to South Africa. Did you know that the South African government, the president in particular, has a massive share, I want to say it's 50% or maybe more than 50%, in a cell phone, in a telecom company called MTN. Do you know who its other partner is? The Iranian government. Do you know who has been threatening to kill Trump? The Iranians. Do you know who they were going to use? The plot and the evidence for the plot was communicated between the South African shareholders and the Iranian shareholders. U.S. intelligence has evidence for it. I'll just leave you that bit of information before I say anything else. I didn't want to speak about South Africa. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a hint as to what's going on globally. The Iranian regime will not survive this. I can guarantee you that. A 100%. Now I want to ask, where's the politicians? Where's all those students? Where is the celebrities? Where are all these people? And most importantly, where are the church leaders that's not saying anything about it? Or the ones that spoke out about Palestine, that's now everybody's quiet. Show me the footage where they're speaking out about the killings of Iranians. Nobody's saying a single word. Not one word. Play, Brooke, if you can go to the one that says Trump. Just play it for me. Thanks.
Where do things stand with Iran? The U.S. has got sizable military assets.
You know, we have a lot of ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction, and we'll see what happens. Big force. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely. I saw 837 hangings on Thursday. If they would have been dead, every one of them would have been hung. This is like from 1,000 years ago. This is an ancient culture. Very smart people, by the way, but it's an ancient culture. 837, mostly young men, were going to be hung on Thursday. And I said, if you hang those people, you're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit. It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts. And an hour before this horrible thing was going to take place, they canceled it. And they actually said they canceled it. They didn't postpone it. They canceled it. So that was a good sign. But we have an armada. We have a massive fleet heading in that direction. And maybe we won't have to use it. We'll see.
You said would you like the supreme leader to step down or to go into exile?
Right now, I don't want to get into that, but they know what we're looking for.
You said today that they want
There's a lot of killing going on.
You said today they want to talk and we'll talk.
You do.
So if you set something up and they asked you to,
Yeah, I do. I would.
what happened?
But you know, we've talked to them a lot. They should have made a deal before we hit them with the nuclear, because we really that was a devastating hit. That whole area is out of play. And if they try and do it again, they're going to have to go to another area. We'll hit them there too, just as easily, much more easily. Because that was very advanced. They were building that for 10 years, and they'd have to start anew. So you know, there was a total obliteration.
All right. the sound is not great on that video, but I wanted to have something to show you that Trump is all over the Middle East right now. The U.S. military has been placed not just close to Iran, but all over the place. They're everywhere. If you recall what happened in Venezuela, it was a long process where not a lot was happening other than, of course, he was causing me a lot of joy and a lot of entertainment when they bombed those boats that brought in the cocaine from Venezuela. Well, and probably some other parts of Central America. But other than that, there wasn't much going on. And everybody was kind of like, well, why is he doing this? Why is he doing, what's going on? And the next moment, Maduro gets taken. That makes me believe that something along those lines is going to happen in Iran. I firmly believe it. And, I've seen a lot of people put videos on, about, the Iranians freed Israel a long time ago. When is Israel helping Iran? Or the Iranians? Not Iran, but the Iranians. And that's a good question. But I want to say this, when a Christian nation steps in to help people that are oppressed, that nation historically always turns Christian. Always turns Christian. It is, I think, right now, I'm kind of frustrated because I wish that they would have done something a lot sooner and helped those people. I know Trump says in a lot of his videos, oh, they're not beheading the people, only about 5,000 people's killed, that stopped. That's not accurate. So I just want to say that 100%, I know that's not accurate. If you go into Robbie Dawkins, he's one of the guys that does a lot of work in the Middle East. If you go into his social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you'll see that he has a lot of footage from Iranian Christians confirming there's at least, and I'm talking a week ago already, at least 30,000 killed. At least 30,000. So what Trump's saying there is not accurate. I am a Trump fan. I am suspecting, I can't imagine he doesn't have that information. I am convinced he does. When you watch this video, it's almost like he's acting stupid. But he also did the same thing when they went into Venezuela. He can't give away what their agenda is for Iran. Otherwise, whatever they're doing isn't going to work. So my belief is he's acting stupid intentionally. It's not because he is stupid. I just think he's acting stupid. And he's like, we'll see, we're going to, he did the same thing in Venezuela. So, again, I wish something would have been done a lot earlier so that those people wouldn't have lost their lives. But I do think, and I do believe, that a total regime change is coming, which to me is awesome. But what is more amazing is that nation's turning Christian. I'm 100% convinced of what I'm saying. Absolutely 100%. And I know that there is videos circling on certain social media groups, and people have different opinions on this. This is, the blood flowing in the streets from the book of Revelation, And, this is the, the Great Tribulation and stuff like that. It is a Great Tribulation. It is a Great Tribulation, for sure. This is a Great Tribulation. Not the Great Tribulation, I repeat myself. It is a Great Tribulation. It's a great suffering for the Iranian people. But it's not, the devil is not having control is losing control. It's not going to keep its control. It's losing control of Iran. And what's happening there is soon going to stop, and justice will be served. Okay? So let's go to the next one. It says Fox Middle East. And then I'll comment on some biblical stuff.
Iran intensifying its crackdown on nationwide unrest. Internet monitors report that the digital blackout is getting even darker and connection is increasingly unstable and reportedly going to last quite a while. Trey Yingst has the latest from Tel Aviv. Hi, Trey.
Dana, good morning. As regional tension grows with Iran, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has issued a new warning for the Islamic Republic.
If Iran makes a mistake and attacks us, we will act with a force that Iran has not yet experienced. No one can predict what the future holds for Iran, but one thing is clear. Whatever happens, Iran will not return to what it was.
The remarks come as Israel's chief of staff indicated the IDF is prepared to employ unprecedented firepower against Iran in the event of another war. The chief of staff noted that many lessons were learned during the 12-day war last summer that already are being implemented. Reports indicate Israel communicated to the Americans it could absorb 700 Iranian ballistic missiles if it meant regime change in the aftermath of Iran's crackdown on protesters. Open source tracking data indicates more American military assets, including fighter jets, have arrived in recent days to neighboring countries like Jordan. Inside Iran, limited protests are ongoing, but sources speaking with Fox News say the regime is doing everything possible to keep people inside, implementing the equivalent of martial law. It doesn't stop there. We've learned that the IRGC is patrolling in Tehran while playing war anthems on large speakers. Some Iranian civilians have been able to leave on commercial flights and through border crossings to neighboring Turkey.
I was forced to leave because our work relies heavily on the internet. The internet was cut for a week and we could not use it at all. Even phone lines were down. When you tried to make a call inside Iran, it was not possible. Conditions have become difficult. People outside the country have no contact whatsoever with those inside Iran.
That internet blackout making it incredibly difficult for people inside of Iran to communicate with the outside world. Dana?
Okay, Trey Yingst, thank you for the update.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening. And I just want to add this in. This is a terrible thing, and I believe people need to speak out about it, and some stuff needs to be done, for sure, 100%. I'm again going to say this. I suspect and I believe that the U.S. is going to take action, definitely. I don't believe that, like I said earlier, the deaths that's been reported has been accurate. I think there's a lot more, I know there's a lot more deaths than what's been reported because there's multiple sources from within Iran that said that. But you know, there's a lot of threats on Trump's life, on the U.S., different things like that. So I believe that the U.S. intelligence knows exactly what's going on, and they're handling it the best that they believe they should. Here's what I don't want to have happen. I don't want people to go on a snail trail, Christians, go on a trail of conspiracy theories, getting distracted with what's happening in the world. You know, let me read from Psalm 2. I want everybody that's listening to take this passage that I'm reading to you right now as a prophecy over the nation of Iran. I believe that this is the word of the Lord. Listen to what it says. Why do the nations assemble with commotion? I'm going to read from the King James because the Amplified is messed up. Why do the nations rage and the people plot vain things? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh, and the Lord shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath, and distress them in his deep displeasure. Yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. So I want to help people that's reading this, because a lot of Christians interpret Zion to be Jerusalem. That's not what Hebrews chapter 12 says. Zion is not Jerusalem. It was Jerusalem. There is a new Jerusalem and there is a new Zion called the church. Jesus said to his church, you are now that city that is set on a hill. It's no longer a physical place. Jesus said to the woman in the well in John 4, he said, the time is coming and is here now where you will neither worship on the mountain. Remember, Jerusalem is also on a mountain, even though he was talking about Moses' mountain, Mount Sinai. He says, you will neither worship on the mountain nor in Jerusalem, but the days are coming and is here now when you will worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. What is he saying? He is saying the city is no longer a physical city. It's a spiritual city. It's the city of the assembly of the saints, the believers together in one place. That is the city. That's why Jesus said to his church, he said, you are a city set on a hill. I'm going to keep reading. Verse 7, I will declare the decree, and the Lord has said to me, I will declare the decree. The Lord has said to me, stupid thing. I will declare the decree. The Lord has said to me, you are my son. Today I've begotten you. I want you to pay attention. Verse 7 is not talking about the coming of Christ. It's talking about the birth of Christ. The begotten. Begotten means you've been birthed. Verse 9, you shall break them with a rod of iron, and you shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore be wise, O kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way. When his wrath is kindled but a little, blessed are all those who put their trust in him. So, I believe that Iran has stood up against Christ. The Iranian regime has stood up against Christ, not the Iranian people. Therefore, the Iranian regime is going to be taken out, and the Iranian people will serve Jesus. That's what I believe is happening. And I don't know that Psalms chapter 2 can make it any more clear. I don't think you can make it any more clear than that. I don't think people understand that right now, you know, like, I don't know if everybody's aware of this. You realize that out of the White House right now, Christians are praying on a daily basis. So I want to bring that to your attention. You realize it's never happened like in modern history. I don't know if that's really happened to this degree in all of history even. I might be wrong on that part of it. But I definitely know not in modern history. So Christianity isn't going to rule out of the U.S. It is busy ruling out of the U.S. I just don't think people realize it. You realize how many people if you go on social media, how many Venezuelans is rejoicing, thanking God for what's happened? Just go on social media. I did that one podcast 2 weeks ago. People are crying, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. We've been praying for this for 40 years. I want to say this. When Jesus said, I'll build my church and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it, he wasn't talking just to the American church. He was talking to the church. And that includes the church in Iran. It includes the church in Iran. So, Jesus never said, I'm building my temple, as in the temple in Jerusalem. He did say, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. In fact, Matthew 24, the first couple of verses, Jesus prophesied, break this temple down. He's the one that said it'll be broken down. Why? Because he's not into the building of a place that has nothing to do with worshiping God, Jesus Christ. He has a lot to do and is very interested in a place where people worship him. Who's him? Jesus Christ. So, what is he interested in building? His church. That is what Jesus is concerned about. He's not concerned about this other stuff. He's concerned about the building of his church. I'll just say it in plain American English, so every layman and every redneck in the U.S. can understand this. Jesus doesn't give a rat's ass about the temple in the Middle East. He cares a lot about his church, the believers. I can feel that went over very well. Ask yourself this question. I want to ask you this question. Why is it in countries like India, where they're Buddhist or Hindu or whatever, and there is the same kinds of wickedness going on as in Iran? People killing one another, abstract poverty, kids being raped, sold into slavery, wicked, wicked, wicked stuff. But they worship other gods. But the strongholds, the rulers of those, not that strongholds and rulers are the same thing, those are two different things, but they do kind of tie into one another in a way. But anyway, a stronghold is a belief. A ruler means the people ruling the place, right? So, why is it that in those places, those rulers, wicked rulers, are just, it's been going on and on and on and on? Well, if there's no church, what is God fighting for? If the church is not strong, why would God be fighting for it? Why do you think God is fighting over the nation of Iran? Because there's a strong church there. For the same reason, I'm going to tell you something. People don't think about this, but if this past election didn't turn things into a Christian direction, this nation would have ended up in a similar manner as many other Muslim countries. That was the agenda for a long time. But when there's a church, a strong church, God comes up for that nation, for the people of that nation, not for the rulers, but for the people of the nation. I can't tell you how excited I am over this thing happening. I'm devastated, and I mourn with the people of Iran over their loved ones that's been killed. But I'm rejoicing over the future of that country. Why do the people rage? Why do the nations rage? And the people imagine vain things. I wonder when people will wake up and realize that Israel is not the determining factor of what God does or doesn't do. It's the church that is the determining factor as to what God does or doesn't do. I know there's a lot of people waking up, and from my understanding, it's the younger generation. Because the older generation, I love the older people. I generally get along with older people better than I do with younger people. And I do know some older people that share my views on this. But unfortunately for the older generation, a lot of older Christians is hanging on to Israel's lips and not onto Christ's lips necessarily. God is not waiting for Israel to move. God is waiting for the church to move. If Jesus never said to the Jews, "On this rock will I build my church." He said to Peter, who had the revelation that Jesus was the Son of God, to him he said, "On this rock I will build my church." Jesus doesn't build his church based on what happens in Israel or what happens in the Middle East or what happens at the temple. Jesus builds it based upon the revelation that he is the Son of God. And nobody else other than the Christians has that revelation. Because if you haven't had that revelation, you couldn't be considered, whatever, depending on what you believe. But no Jew believes that Jesus is the Son of God unless they're Christian. Praise God. I think I ticked a few people off. That's okay, though. I love the Jews, and politically, it makes sense why the U.S. is aligned with Israel. Because if you're not aligned with Israel, who are you going to be aligned with in the Middle East? I'm not anti-Jewish by any means. I want to learn. There's a lot of things I would like to learn from the Jewish people, and I've tried to do that for many years. In fact, I get along with the Jewish people very well. I don't get along with the Islamists at all. But I do want to say that Jesus has an agenda. In Iran, and I believe it'll be accomplished pretty soon. I don't want to put a time frame on it, but I'd say my guess would be 3 months. And I say it again, it's a guess. I'm probably be right about it. Usually I am. But I'll still say it's a guess. I love you all. See you on Sunday. Be blessed.
Hi, I'm Pastor Leslie Theron, and I want to talk to you today about partnership. Here at Revive Now Ministries, we believe in carrying the gospel of the good news of Jesus Christ to northern Wisconsin and beyond. Every seed that you sow in partnership goes to us bringing the good news of Jesus Christ to the lost, to the broken, and to the hurting. I want to encourage you, on this video, we've put a QR code at the bottom of the screen. I want you to ask the Lord what He would have you give to this ministry. Partnership is everything. Without you, we cannot reach beyond the four walls. We appreciate every seed that you sow, and we are praying for a mighty harvest to come back to you in Jesus' mighty name. We love you.
The heavens open and the glory of God descends. Chains break, lives are healed, and the power of His Spirit moves among His people. This is our vision, the kingdom, the power, and the glory of God. Revive Now Ministry, where His presence brings transformation.